Are you looking to get started in nature study, have children 10 and under, and trying to figure out how the Charlotte Mason nature study thing really works? Well, I have the curriculum for you. Welcome back to Wholehearted Homemaking. My name is Heather, and today I want to share with you a little curriculum that has got a lot of fame around the world, but some people may not have heard of it yet because it is an older one, and that is Exploring Nature with Children. We used Exploring Nature with Children with our kids for many years when we first started homeschooling. It is definitely great for those before school, formal school years, before age 6, but I even used it with up to my 10-year-old. You could even extend it with older kids if you were wanting to. My experience has been with 10 and under. We did it about 3 or 4 years, and then we decided to go a different direction, but this is a great starting point, especially if you're still learning the basics of it all. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough and just show you some of the things we like about it. Now, it is a digital print, and so I actually sent this to a printing homeschool family that does printing and had them bind it for me. If you have a binder, you can bind it yourself. You can use it digitally on whatever. It's however you want to use it. But I wanted it nicely bound because we were using it so much. So first thing I want to show you is at the beginning, you have your table of contents, and it just kind of gives you an outline. And you can go to Lynn is the creator of this, Lynn Seddon. She is in England actually, but she creates a calendar for each school year that will rearrange some of these topics because like you'll see like full moon listed sometimes, and the full moon doesn't always happen at the same time every month. And so she will adjust them based on the new school calendar if you're looking for that. But the table of contents goes around basically doing what you're gonna do. So if you were gonna start in September, you're gonna start with seeds, mini beast hunt, mini beast being like small critters, being insects, the harvest moon, and the autumnal equinox. And like obviously those may have to fluctuate because of the way the actual calendar pans out. So you have that all the way through August. So it starts in September, goes to August. You can mix and match these as much as you want. I love it because it is kind of an a la carte kind of situation. So after the table of contents, she goes into kind of the hows and getting ready and what you're going to do and things that you're going to use. She talks about the week's nature walk activity because every week you're supposed to include a nature walk. She talks about how to use the Handbook of Nature Study. Just a word of wisdom, read the introduction. I skipped it for many years and finally started reading it last year. I'm an idiot. Read the introduction to Handbook of Nature Study. It will help you so much. She talks about how she includes book lists, poem, and a piece of art to enjoy, and then extension activities as well. And she talks about how to set up your journal, what you might do for entries, and you can look at a lot of this on her website, Exploring Nature with Children. Then each season will have a little bit more detailed breakdown. So you can see here, it's a 2-page spread for October, but it'll say, okay, this is what we're going to do for each of the activities. So here's week 1, kind of the materials, if you want. This is equipment, but materials and activities you're going to do so you can plan ahead. And so she has that for each season. Then you go down and you have your month and then the first week. And you can see you have kind of this for you to read on your own and then to discuss with your kids. Then you're going to have, I love that she put safety notes in there. And she has different things, activities for you to do here while you're on your nature walk. Then if you keep going, more. So you want to read all of this not to your child, but you want to read it in preparation for your nature walk and your time out in nature. Now you could do, we go in our backyard every day. That's our nature time. Maybe you go to a special park, wherever you want to do. Nature walk can be anything. For us, several times I was walking around our neighborhood when we lived in a subdivision. Other times it was when we walked around town when we lived in a small town. It could be anywhere that you can get outside because I promise you, you can find almost all these things anywhere, whether it's a city park, a backyard, or a great big national park, okay? So that's why it is so great to start out because it's so accessible. So you're going to read all that ahead of time so that way you have it. We're not going to be the circus master showing our kids everything, but that way if they have questions we know and we can kind of draw their attention to certain things because we're looking for it. And so it's going to be simple little prompts, and she goes through a lot of that. And Handbook of Nature Study will also tell you, so she gives you some supplemental things. Then there's books. If you are part of a library, I highly recommend just getting them on hold ahead of time. I remember at one point when we were doing this, I was like, oh, I think somebody else around here is doing Exploring Nature with Children because all the books I needed were gone. But you can look them up in your library. You could also look up on YouTube. A lot of times you can find picture books being read. Um, there was not, there were books that I ended up purchasing that we use with this curriculum, but not until I had read them or could preview them ahead of time, because there's a lot of books and I couldn't afford nor have space for all of those. But there are some really great ones, like the very beginning here with A Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. We love that. From Seed to Plant by Gail Gibbons. We love that. But the other two books we did get from the library, but we didn't read them extensively. And so you have your books and things. Those are things you're going to do at home beforehand, right? Then you also have a poem that you can learn each week. So now we've got a little bit of language arts studies, whether you want to say it with your kid, whether they're at an age where they could do it for copy work, whether you're just going to read it to your kid. I would recommend, if you're going to read it to your child, read it a couple times a day, or not a couple times a day, I'm sorry, that's absurd. Read it a couple times a week, especially if it's a longer poem. And then it'll have a piece of art, and several of them are in the public domain, so you can actually print them. Not all, I'm not going to say that, but several. So like this one, Squirrels in a Tree, I know I was able to print it and hang it in our house for my kids to see, or you could put it on your TV or wherever you look digitally at items. And then you also have extension activities. So this first week, when we're talking about seeds, extension activities could be like, display your seed collection, collect seeds and glue to a heavy sheet of cardboard to make your own nature picture design. There are some really amazing artists who do this, so you could look those up too. Gather seeds from trees, and that gives various different ones. So find those different trees and get those seeds. Maybe seeds are not something you can do at this time. You know what's really great about this? You could just flip to another lesson and be like, okay, you know what? We're struggling to find seeds this September. So we're going to go and do, sorry, I landed on winter birds. That was probably not a great choice. But I'm going to go do a tree study. We're just going to study the tree instead of the seeds. That's for you. You can do that. And then here's one, write a story about a life of a traveling seed. There's some really good ones. There's one about a coconut that travels. But you can find books at the library, but you have them make up their own, create displays, use magnifying glasses. If it's up to you, you can crack them open. We like to do that with pumpkin seeds, because then you can see the pepita inside, and the pepita is just as good roasted by itself as the whole thing, and so that's always a great option. But that's how it's broken down for the whole year. All 12 months is in this curriculum, and that's really all that you get in here. It's just a lot of information, and it's wonderful because it's simple to implement, because you have your nature activity that you prepare for. You, as the mother teacher or father teacher, prepare ahead of time. This is what our focus is going to be. I'm going to read this little snippet of information she gives me. I might read in Handbook of Nature Study or another nature journal, and I'm going to prepare so that when we go on our nature walk, I know what we're going to be looking for. And then we also have books that we can get from the library or from our home library that we're going to extend at home and read about them all week long. Pick one book a day. And then, or maybe you read a book over a couple days, depending on the length. Then you're going to have your poem and your artwork. Those are a really great preschool, by the way. And that was our preschool for many years, because it allowed us to touch on the subjects of beauty, of art, and of poetry, and of nature. But it wasn't a hard and fast, this is what we do each day. And it is a great option for anybody who is really trying to figure out, is the Charlotte Mason method one that I can even get into? Because picture study and poetry and nature study are kind of those enrichment studies in most school settings, but they are very important to a Charlotte Mason education, because we want to make sure we're tackling multiple subjects, not just the core lesson subjects, but those beauty, what I call beauty subjects. And so I want you to give that a shot if you are looking for, how do I implement Charlotte Mason? What is it? What do I do at nature study? Lynn Seddon has just done an amazing job, and I'm sure she's probably made some revisions since I purchased this 6 years ago. But it is wonderful. If you are going to do it, I highly recommend getting her calendar, because it does help, because I am not always ahead of the game in looking at when the full moon falls. But it is a great one. My kids have loved using this for many years. But if you are looking for something for young children, even if you just use the nature study portion, maybe you just use the poetry and art section, I don't know. This will be beneficial way to get your kids doing something that is focused learning, but isn't something in a workbook. So I hope this has helped. If you have any questions about exploring nature with children, please don't hesitate to ask. I would love to be a help to you. And thank you so much for watching. Have a blessed day, and let us go forth to strive to serve our families and the Lord wholeheartedly.